Have you ever tried to connect with someone and it just feels like you're hitting a wall of ice? We call them cold, distant, maybe unfeeling. But what if we've been getting it all wrong? What if the coldest people aren't empty at all? What if they're actually the ones who feel the most? Okay, so here's the uncomfortable truth we have to start with. The person who seems the most emotionally detached, they're not empty. In fact, it's usually the complete opposite. Their coldness isn't an absence of feeling. It's a fortress that they had to build around an overwhelming amount of it. You know that feeling, right? You send this long, heartfelt text, you pour your feelings out, and the reply you get back is just, okay. Or maybe, a single thumbs up emoji. It's like a punch to the gut. It really feels like you're just shouting into a void. In that moment, it feels like you've just run into this smooth, perfect, impenetrable wall of ice. There are no handholds, no cracks you can peer through. It's just a cold surface reflecting your own warmth right back at you. So let's talk about that wall, because this isn't just some personality quirk. Psychologically speaking, it's a deliberate construction. It's a carefully engineered defense mechanism. There's even a clinical term that can sometimes fit here, alexithymia. It literally means no words for emotions. It's not that the feelings aren't there, it's that the person just doesn't have the tools or the vocabulary, or maybe just doesn't feel safe enough to access them and express them. In a very real way, they are locked out of their own heart. And that leads to a really crucial question. We always assume these walls are built to keep us out. But what if their main job is actually to keep something volatile in? That question kind of forces us to look inside the fortress, doesn't it? And what we often find there is this profound and usually painful internal world. Let's call it the empty chair. And here's the paradox. On the one hand, this emotional distance is a form of self-protection, right? It keeps them safe in this little Arctic tundra they've made for themselves. But on the other hand, my God, it's profoundly lonely. They're the only ones sitting in that empty chair, the lone tree in a massive empty field. Their silence isn't empty. It's heavy. It's dense with the weight of every single emotion they've had to push down, every word they couldn't say, every reaction they had to bury deep inside. It's a silence that absolutely screams. Which brings us right to the core of it. Why? I mean, why go to such extreme lengths? Why choose a fortress of solitude over the risk of actually connecting with another person? Well, the answer lies right here in what we're going to call the locked chest. This is where we find out what that wall of ice is really protecting. Think about it. You don't build a fortress around an empty field. You build it to protect the crown jewels, or maybe to contain something really dangerous. And so often, this cold exterior is guarding a deep past wound, something so fragile or so painful that it has to be kept under lock and key. So this is the crucial point. What we see as an emotional void is actually a vault. It's heavily guarded, it's chained shut, because the feelings inside are just too intense, too overwhelming, maybe even too dangerous to let out. It's not a lack of feeling, it's an excess of it that's been put into deep storage. And hey, just for a second, let's turn that inward. What about you? What are the feelings or memories that you've packed away in your own vault, kind of hoping no one ever finds the key? All of this, the wall, the silence, the distance, it's all a kind of armor. But the thing is, armor always comes at a price. That ice you feel from them? Yeah, that's a shield. It was forged to deflect anything that might get too close. That silence that feels so isolating, those are the walls of a fortress, built brick by brick with unspoken words. And that apparent numbness, that's the armor itself. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, but to them, it feels absolutely necessary for survival. Because the truth is, and if you remember one thing, remember this, it was never ever about feeling nothing. It's about having felt everything. Too much pain, too much betrayal, too much chaos, and developing the shield as a radical trauma response. It's purely a survival strategy to make sure it never, ever happens again. So how do we move forward with this new understanding? Well, we have to learn to look beneath the surface. When you meet someone who seems cold, I want you to remember this image. That ice is a survival mechanism. It is not their identity. Because beneath the frozen ground, there are still roots. There is still a history, a story, and the potential for a thaw. even if it takes a long, long time for the sun to come up. So the next time you come up against that wall of ice, just remember this. True empathy isn't about trying to melt the ice. It's about respecting that the ice is there for a very good reason. It's about understanding that what looks like coldness from the outside is often just a desperate attempt to contain a raging fire within.